Good day. This is Orr, and I'm going to start doing this is quinoa salad, but basically I came across a rice salad at one time, and then you know, I had been cooking quinoa for quite a few years, but decided to shift my rice salad to quinoa because I feel like I went in on a protein kick. Felt like I needed more protein and um let's see, does it actually have more protein? It has 6 grams of protein, but 11% dietary fiber. So it's like nutrition dense ingredient. And the one I actually picked up one, they call it Harmony quinoa, or sometimes you'll see it as rainbow quinoa. And the reason is it's got white quinoa, black quinoa, and red quinoa. So it's like the different varieties. When I make this for a lot of people, I will probably put 60% rice and 40% quinoa to make like a huge tray of it because, quinoa is fairly expensive. The goal here is to try to get all the different flavors. And the quinoa soaks it in, and then you have a lot of crunchy vegetables to add texture. The sauce is really the key component to this. If you don't have sweet vegetables, like I like to pick sweet vegetables. So here I'll go. In my sweet vegetables, I will do like purple cabbage. And part of this is just color too. Purple onion, orange, red, yellow peppers. They're sweet. Like, I've got red pepper. In this one, I went to the farmer's market this morning and they had some fresh beets. I'm going to mince up a beet for that. But mostly I'm going for vegetables you can eat raw, vegetables that have a good crunch to it. And like, I love green beans and they had fresh green beans at the farmer's market. So I grabbed that. But you can do cabbage, zucchini, I got some zucchini. But part of it is you either have the choice of putting sweet vegetables or adding sugar to the sauce. Now I went out to my garden and I don't actually know what this green is. It's a wild green, but it's super sour. I mean, quite literally, it tastes like lemon. So when I was snipping, I got some fresh greens to add to it. I saw that it was very bushy, so I snipped a little of that also. So, we're going to go for all the flavors. For the unami, it's toasted sesame oil and black beans. Sometimes I don't put black beans, especially when it's really hot out. I'll make more of a cool one that's less heavy. Like I really like to bring this to picnics and stuff. So really the only thing we're actually cooking is we'll cook the quinoa. Everything else is just you chop it up real fine. But there is a few little tricks I do when I cook the quinoa. One of the tricks I do is I like to toast the quinoa. I feel like it gives it a more nutty flavor. And so you get your quinoa, put it on your pot at low to medium heat.
Do not walk away while it's doing that.
Right. These will start popping. You can, I do recommend either you're putting a lot. So here I'm putting the whole package in. So I'm just going to make a whole bunch. This whole package is about 2 cups. And because I have a lot, when they're popping, look how colorful that is.
Yeah.
When they're popping, the ones on the bottom are popping and are not, But if you have a big pan, like a big frying pan, and you don't have the, if you don't have the other covering it, they'll start popping out of, they'll quite literally start popping out of the pan. So either keep it covered or, you know, because this is a smaller pan, the ones that are popping underneath don't tend to pop out. So usually I see quinoa as organic. I don't know if they do grow it non-organic, but they probably do. It's a ancient grain. So the quinoa is toasting, and we can start chopping up vegetables. Basically, again, all these vegetables are vegetables that you're going to, that you can eat raw. In the sauce, I really like using some good olive oil for taste. And then again, you can use any type of vinegar, but if you use a sweet vinegar, you don't have to add sugar to your recipe. So I like using either an apple cider vinegar, or sometimes I'll get a fruit vinegar. So when I'm making a lot of this, I try to go with, you know, whatever's in season, whatever's cheapest, whatever's readily available. And so I'll do a lot of cabbage, carrots, squashes, zucchinis, cucumber. Of course, any of these vegetables I'm chopping up, if they're good, I'm saving it. Not for this recipe, but I save it. I put it in a freezer bag and save it in the fridge for later making veggie broth. So you're going to cut everything really small. So what I do is, you know, I'm quartering it. So it's going to be really small. And so let's see, I've got zucchini, yellow squash, cucumbers, green beans, a little bit of broccoli. I usually don't put broccoli in because it's a pretty strong flavor, but they had them at the farmer's market. All right. It's summertime, so I like adding cucumber for the fresh. My quinoa is starting to pop just a little bit. When you hear it pop, be on the lookout. Maybe give it a stir. There's no reason for me to do it, but when I cut this up, I like to just pile it up in little piles on my dish. Now, preferably what you do is you cook the quinoa or rice, and then you set it aside and let it cool way down before you mix any of the vegetables in, because this is a cool salad. Now you can make what I call a Southwest hot salad, which means you would put corn and maybe navy beans in it. Basically everything you would put in, what is it, like a taco? You know, pico de gallo, all together. Can you hear that quinoa popping a little bit? It's like, I'll probably have to stir it.
Quick question. How high are we supposed to put the heat on the quinoa?
Almost as low as possible. I mean, not quite. Like I've got mine at a 2. All you're doing is you're just like, you're toasting it to give it a little more nutty flavor. Now, you don't have to do that, but I do that with my rice too. When I cook rice, I will either toast it like this, or what I'll do is I'll get oil and toast my spices in the oil, and then add the rice and fry it just a little bit so that there's flavors coated on everything. So all right. I usually don't use raw beets at all, but I was thinking when I was at the farmer's market that they're sweet. Where was I? Oh, in the Cayman Islands, they make their potato salad. They make like typical potato salad, and then they'll chop up canned beets into it. And that's what they call Cayman style potato salad. So it's actually kind of a purple potato salad. It's really, first time I saw it, I was like, that's a really weird color. So, all right. So far, I've chopped up zucchini, yellow summer squash, a couple cucumbers, an orange sweet pepper. Now I've got a little, this is not a hot pepper. This is also a sweet pepper, a little red one. Because for me, sweet peppers are not in season, I'm not using very many of them because they're very expensive. So most of this stuff I got at the farmer's market in season, but I try to use what's readily accessible in season. But again, it's all about lots and lots of color. So this is a little yellow sweet pepper. One thing I did forget to get is a green jalapeno. They're not very spicy, and it just gives a little pep to it. All right. Now, in my ingredients list, I don't think I put green beans, but I saw these at the farmer's market, and it was just too good. So the more you toast the quinoa, the more flavor it is. But since we're using toasted sesame oil, we don't have to toast the quinoa very much. So now that I've got about half the vegetables chopped up already, I feel like I should start cooking the quinoa. Quinoa cooks really quickly. The first time I cooked quinoa, afterwards I thought it was bad because the little teeny sprouts of the quinoa look like little worms. So, all right. So quinoa is just like rice. 1 cup of quinoa, 2 cups of water, or if you're just pouring it in, you basically just cover it up. And now put it on full heat and cap it off. You're just going to do a quick simmer. I'd say quinoa cooks really quick. Again, it's really small. It only takes about 15 minutes. So as soon as it comes up to a boil, I usually put it on really low. All right. Chopping up my green beans real small. Yeah, you just pick what vegetables you like. Also, I think you should pick vegetables that don't really have a really strong flavor. That's why this right here, this particular one, I might not like it because I'm going to add this beet. I usually don't do beets, but this beet was just way too beautiful. Look at that rich color, fresh from the farmer. So my mom got a bunch of these that she only gave me one. My mom actually bought them, and she's going to cook them in her solar oven and give them to me, and then I'm going to try to make some of that Cayenne potato salad with it. So it's just, so again, I'm chopping them really small because beets themselves, fresh beets, are really chewy. Now, if I'm cooking this recipe for a lot of people, again, you can just go pick your cheapest vegetables that are colorful and or have a crunch. So you can put cabbage, celery, carrots. Those are all readily available. Let's see here. I don't know about everybody else, but we're in the middle of a heat wave here. And so I'm so glad that I happened to pick a recipe. Up, starting really boiling away there. So now I'm going to turn it down to the lowest. This pan right here really holds in the heat. Once it brings to a boil, I can put it down on my lowest temperature and it'll continue to simmer for that 15 minutes. All right. Yeah, I'm very glad that I picked a recipe right now that's not super long for heating up the house. We actually grew up that in the summer, we would try not to cook anything in the house. Or if we did, it would be just at the end of the day. We had a thing where we'd open up the windows of the house first thing in the morning, turn on the fan, and run a bunch of air through the house to cool it off. I mean, look at all these colors in this pan already. Again, most of the colors are really means it's sweet. All right. In the sauce, basically I put fresh ginger, garlic, a little soy sauce or amino acids. Oh, this onion's starting to make me cry. I tried to save the onion for last, but look at these nice carrots I got. Did you know that you can eat the tops of carrots? I came across at one of our weekly dinners like this, a guy from China taught me a really tasty summer stir fry, which was with carrot tops and cucumbers. That's right. Stir fried carrot tops and cucumbers. In my case, I'm saving this, put it in with all my bits that I'm saving, that I put this in a freezer bag and put it in the freezer. Once I get a gallon bag full, I use that to make veggie broth. That stuff can be expensive, and all it is just all your scrap veggies. All right. So let's see, what other veggies do we have in here? Those beets are really colorful. Let me try one. Oh, that's a really dark, deep flavor with a hint of sweetness. I'm cutting carrots, and that taste in that beet, actually, the texture makes me think of a little piece of carrot like that. But the carrot definitely has a sweeter, putting tomatoes in this. I mean, you can put any tomatoes in it, but you ideally you kind of want them slightly underripe. And the reason that is again, that texture. Otherwise the tomatoes will just kind of disappear in this recipe. Now, if I'm making the hot version, what I will do is get a can of tomatoes and add it to it. You get like diced tomatoes in a can and add it to it with corn and any kind of beans. And again, it can be served cold, but you can mix it together while it's hot. This particular recipe, you really want to mix it together while it's cool, because otherwise a lot of these vegetables will end up cooking in the heatness of the quinoa. All right, it's getting close. Let's see here. It does take a little longer to cook when you toast it. And it also has a little chewiness to it. Let's see, what did I not put in? I've still got my lemon. If you do need some sweetness, you can add an apple. Not very much, because especially like usually what I'll do when I do this is I'll put, when I'm making a big, like huge tray for, you know, a whole picnic or for a lot of people, I'll put like one whole bell pepper that's green, one whole that's red, and one whole that's yellow, and one whole that's orange. That's plenty of sweetness. Besides the green one, that's plenty of sweetness. So I usually don't add an apple. But in this case, it's out of season. So apple, I'm actually going to put this in the compost, the actual extras, because I don't know. I don't feel like that would taste too good in a veggie broth. But I essentially have 2 freezer bags in the freezer. One is my veggie bits, and then one is my meat bits. When I clean off, like, you know, if I trim off the fat or the skin or bones, I save all that, and I'll make and I used to actually do 3. I would do like a red meat, more like a beef stock, and then a chicken stock, and then a veggie stock. But now I just do basically a meat stock and a veggie stock with the extras. These are some nice apples, actually from Michigan. I forgot what, Gala apples? Yeah. I like them because they, again, are crispy. I'm trying to go with a nice crunch to most of my stuff. All right. I think I got plenty. I don't usually like putting much broccoli in it because it's pretty strong flavored. And now I'm going to start working on the sauce. I got my lemon. I only put 1 carrot because I feel like I got enough sweetness. And it's, as you can see, it's very easy to quickly get lots and lots of vegetables. I mean, we're looking at, when I'm cooking this for when I'm cooking this for others, or when I'm catering a very large group, of course, I do more rice and quinoa and less vegetables. Maybe when I'm doing it for myself, I'll do it like 50-50. All right, so, and I didn't end up putting any cabbage in either. Should I? I don't know. I think we've got lots of vegetables there. It added up real quick, didn't it? I'll put a little bit of cabbage. Just making it really thin like slaw here. All right. Lots of colors. So we've got, in this pile, I've got cucumbers, zucchinis, green beans, yellow squash, 3 kinds of sweet peppers, tomatoes, a little bit of apples, sweet purple onion, some purple cabbage, some beets, some carrots. I put a little bit of broccoli, which I probably didn't need to because it has a little bit of stronger taste. And otherwise, I turn my quinoa off, and it has like no water in it right now, but it's still steaming. I just leave it closed. I can let it steam for a little while, or let me taste it, make sure. Yep, that's good. Nutty with a little chewiness because I see a comment that this is healthy. Don't ruin it for me. This is good. This is, well, it's healthy too.
I was just going to say that it looks a lot healthier than when you were making the feijoada and trying to put all of the
meats,
oil
yeah,
and grease in.
yeah. So this one, you do want to put a substantial amount of oil in it, because you need all the flavors, but you have the choice of not putting much too. Like, one thing is, if you're going to take this and serve it in a couple days, you cannot mix the dressing in it, because when you mix the dressing in it, the lemon and the vinegar will start cooking the vegetables, and so they'll start getting softer and softer. You want to keep the vegetables crunchy. So one thing I do is I will
Toasted sesame oil, can be quite strong too, flavor.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You got to be careful.
Yep. So again, the toasted sesame oil, we're just putting in for flavor. I put olive oil or any kind of oil for
okay. So you're using
richness.
Yeah, you're using another oil and just the sesame for flavor.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you just made like a vinaigrette with sesame oil, it'd be too strong.
So to hurry this up, I'm going to put the quinoa in the cooler to try to cool it off a little bit. And then I'll be making the dressing here. So, oh man, look at, didn't clean up the stove too much. You guys can see that, can't you? I spent the day at the farmer's market and then the whole afternoon in the park, because today is Juneteenth and there was a big celebration, lots of cooking and food. And all right, so right now I'm working on the dressing. The dressing, I like to use fresh ginger, garlic, some, you can just use some of the purple onions, but I happen to have some little purple onions, exactly the same as the big purple onion. Lemon, and then I've got my herbs. The herbs, a lot of times you just chop up and put on the top. You don't really want it in the dressing because you want the herbs to stay fresh. Let's see. soy sauce for a little salt, where I've got amino acids, and then some good olive oil and apple cider vinegar. So the base of it is 50-50 vinegar and oil. I'm going to make about 2 cups worth here. Well, probably 1 cup worth. Where's my measuring cup? Yeah, so about 1 cup worth.
This is the first time I've seen amino acids. They're just a generally healthy thing to put in dressings, or what else do you use it for?
It's a natural soy sauce alternative.
Oh, I see.
So part of it is it's lower sodium.
And
For me?
gluten-free, because soy sauce has wheat in it usually.
Correct. So this is
Okay.
vegetable protein from soybeans.
Oh,
So you can get soy sauce that is
gluten-free, yeah.
right.
Special.
And so this one is gluten-free and kosher. I mean, but
Okay, I've never seen that before.
I grew
Learn
up.
something new every day.
Yeah, so I grew up. We had this and something called nutritional yeast on the counter instead of salt and pepper. We might have
Oh.
pepper on there, but we never had salt. We'd have a little shaker of this, and then something called nutritional yeast, which is especially if you're vegan, the only thing you can't get is B12. So nutritional yeast is literally pure B12.
Plus, it also gives it a little kind of cheesy flavor.
Yeah, cheesy, nutty flavor. So like my favorite with nutritional yeast is sprinkling it on popcorn, and you have
Me too. Me too.
cheesy, nutty flavor.
Yeah.
This is my new favorite little tool. This right here is a teaspoon measuring cup. So like usually, but in the past I would always use the little teaspoons, but then it says you need 4 teaspoons and you're going, psh, psh, psh. Well, this whole thing will do 4 tablespoons. So if I feel like following a recipe, but basically I am doing 50% oil, 50% vinegar, and then I'm flavoring it. The vinegar itself causes the what do you call it? The oil to emulsify, right? So it starts to break down. I don't know if you can see that. It's the vinegar and the oil are blending together.
Yeah.
Right.
But if it's too sour, you can always use more oil and less vinegar. Right.
But I use the really good quality apple cider vinegar. That's actually, it's raw, so it has more nutrition. And I'm actually making it sourer because here I'm adding, where's my strainer? I'm adding a lemon, or you can use a lime. So I never got into the trick of where you can do it where you can catch the seeds very good. So I always put like one of these little strainers and just do it right above that, and then the seeds fall in the strainer.
I use that little Mexican one you could get. They use them for oranges and for lemons.
This right here is bamboo, and it's super sharp. Like I try not to point it right at my hand because I've done that before and drilled through and put a little hole in my hand. So like when I'm doing it, I try to have it that it's kind of to the side, but I see like fancy chefs, they'll do a lemon like this and they'll somehow catch the seeds in their hand.
Yeah.
And I never got any good at that. So that's where I use this little, so there's like pulp and the seeds got caught in it. And if you're doing a lot of it, maybe you'll use a bigger strainer. Like if I'm doing 4 or 5 lemons, I'll put a bigger strainer so I don't have to be so careful with the little one. Of course, it's something extra. Now, if I'm making it just for myself, I just do it right on top of it because I'm just gonna make it and eat it. And then I'm like, I know there's seeds in there. It's my own fault if I catch a seed. I'm not super, I don't know, careful about not putting little bits in there. But all right. I don't think I want my veggie broth to have a real sour taste, so that's going to be set aside to compost. So far I've got this apple cider vinegar, the oil, lemon juice, and it's really like mixing together already. You can see it's like, and then adding to it, I've been going on a fresh turmeric kick. I've been putting like turmeric in everything. And so I'm going to add a little turmeric in it. Turmeric to me has like a really intense carrot taste. But one of the tricks, like if you have a texture problem, you might want to peel it beforehand because the skin itself is kind of rough. Did someone have a question? So I minced this turmeric real small. I'm mincing turmeric, ginger, and fresh garlic into it. And then I'll taste it and then decide how much sesame oil do I want to add to it. I've got 1 spare green bean here just sitting around here. Let me chop that, put that in the salad. Just like, yeah. Fresh ginger is amazing. Too often we go to the store and we get like the really old stringy ginger, and then it's really hard to cut up. So then you want to get the old ginger, then you might want to try to grate it or run it through the food processor to get it small enough. Now you don't have to put this much ginger in. I just particularly really like ginger. Ginger is really strong flavored. And again, this is my spicy version. So I put a lot of ginger and a lot of fresh garlic in it. Oh, and I usually put a fresh jalapeno in it. But the fresh jalapeno, I don't put in the sauce. The fresh jalapeno, I mix in with the vegetables. Because the fresh jalapeno, here the flavors integrate into the sauce. If I put a fresh jalapeno, I think it pulls out too much spice out of it. And like fresh jalapenos, I think they are spicy, but they're not like super hot. But I feel like the longer you pull it out, the more spicy the jalapeno gets. So mincing the garlic here. So, and of course you can make any flavor you want, but mainly you want to try to make sure you get a little bit of all the flavors. So I've got the fat with the oil. Let's see, what are all the flavors? I've got the sour from the lemon. I've got the sweet of the vinegar. And maybe I'll have to add some sugar to it. We'll see. And then I also have these sweet onions that I'll add to it. And what else? The salt of the soy sauce or the amino acids. And then the umami of the toasted sesame oil. Is that all the flavors? Did I catch them all? And remember, your sauce, you don't want it very sweet because remember, you have so many sweet vegetables. By having so many sweet vegetables, you don't need much sweetness in the sauce. Now, if you did go with vegetables that aren't so sweet, let's say I couldn't afford, because this can be very expensive out of season. If you're buying the sweet peppers, they can be, I've seen them as high as a couple dollars a piece. So if I put, a red, a yellow, and an orange in there, that can be as many as $6 just for 3 peppers. Of course, the issue there is you have to buy the whole pepper, right? All right. So this is a sweet purple onion. And in this case, it's the same as the big purple onion. It was just, picked young. So you don't have to go with these teeny little onions. But, all right. Let's see. What did I not put in so far? I haven't put in the soy sauce. Now, I tend to not do much salt, so I put very little. I mean, literally, probably a quarter of a teaspoon in this whole thing. Now I'll taste it and see how much umami I need to put in, how much toasted sesame oil. It's actually not very sour. I think I'll have to add another lemon. I guess while I have the fridge open here, I'm going to grab a coconut water here. It's still some hot in the kitchen here.
Did you put the apple cider vinegar in?
That was actually first. Yep.
Oh, okay. So the 2 lemons and apple cider vinegar. Yeah.
Yep.
And
right in the beginning, I put 50% apple cider vinegar and 50% oil. And that's where the vinegar starts breaking down the oil to make it
emulsified. Yeah, right.
That's the word, emulsified. Yeah. So like if you look at it now, you actually can't tell the difference between the oil and the vinegar. Originally, it was definitely separate, but now it's like all. Well, this one I didn't chop up very well. So.
Yeah, in a regular vinaigrette even calls for a little bit of sugar in it.
Yep, so.
And you put 5 cloves of garlic, I noticed. That's going to clean your blood.
This particular version is my spicy version. So again, lots of ginger, lots of garlic. And then usually I put a whole fresh jalapeno also.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, it's up to you how much spices, because the oil and vinegar doesn't have much. It's very, very subtle, not much flavor.
Yeah.
And
you're going to keep the dressing separate, eh? Because otherwise you're going to be eating, are you having company? You're going to be eating quinoa salad for 3 days.
Oh yeah, I
He
absolutely
does.
love
He
this.
does eat it for 3 days.
Oh, he does.
Oh yeah, I mean, what I'll do,
But you keep the dressing separate so that
I
it doesn't
actually
get.
don't.
Oh.
What I'll show you how I do it. You don't want it on the vegetables.
Mm-hmm.
So I will pour it directly into the quinoa and let the quinoa absorb it all.
And then you
Because
mix them each time you want to eat some.
so
Okay.
then you can keep them separate. In my
Mhm.
case, I just put them all together because I'm lazy.
Mhm.
But if you want to keep the vegetables super crunchy, but I find out if you notice here, like, all right, the quinoa.
Well, the apple's going to go brown though, but
So the
it doesn't
quinoa
matter.
itself now is not completely cool, but very cool, pretty cool. It's got, I mean, and so we've got about 4 cups of quinoa here with about 1 cup of dressing, and it'll soak it right up and it'll completely disappear. But I need to taste this. Okay, I added more sour to it. Okay, now it's got a definite zing of sour. And so now I need to balance that out with about probably a half a teaspoon of toasted sesame oil. It's really strong.
Very flavorful.
Oh yeah, that's good. Now, again, note I have these fresh herbs, but I'll put those in last. Again, if you put them in here, it will cook it and make the flavors change. They won't be fresh tasting. Like if you ever had like fresh Italian herbs versus dried, very similar. So now I'm just going to put all this in the quinoa. And again, the cooler this is, the better. But if you look at it, it's almost completely gone. There's like, if you, all that two cups. And now I definitely, this right here needs to be completely cool. And then you mix all the vegetables in it. But let me grab a tray here. Yeah, I mean, I love this. But yeah, I can eat this for days and days. And now you can see that the sauce itself, so now I can just layer the vegetables on the top and then it won't mix together. So that the vegetables themselves won't start cooking in the sauce. Now, some of them you might want a little cooking, like the zucchini and the cabbage, but overall, you don't really want it to cook, And so that's, and then, I don't know, 30 minutes before I serve it, I'll mix it all up, And so what I do when I'm just feeding myself, I'll just do like that. I'll just mix this corner and then put it in a bowl. So just that part is now again, when I'm making a lot of this, this little tray right here is as far as catering goes, it's fairly expensive because you used a lot of quality vegetables. So if I'm doing not a small tray like this, I will use this much vegetables, but do a full tray and do twice as much rice and
Quinoa.
rice and or quinoa.
Mhm.
So here's my fresh herbs. I'm chopping these up really, really fine. And again, I don't want these fresh herbs in the sauce because then they lose their freshness. Now, ideally what you would do is just chop this up and put it on it right before you served it. Because as soon as I start chopping that up, it starts losing its flavor, of course. But I'm a lazy man. I just put this in the fridge and I have no problem eating salad now. I don't think I've ever brought this to any event and had someone say, ooh, I don't want that salad.
Mhm.
It's just, and again, all the different flavors all in one dish. It's just like, oh, look at how colorful that is.
Looks good.
Yep. And it has, now you can, if you want more nutty flavor to it, you can put toasted nuts on it. You can pick and choose what herbs you put on it. Like, you know, if you like more dill, you put some dill. If you like basil, whatever fresh herbs. The thing about the dressing is because it has so many flavors. If you ever ate Thai food, you'll be like, this is so complex. And it's because it has all the different flavors all in one. And so, you know, you can add other things to create like a pop so that each bite might have a little something different. But the dressing itself, because it has all the different flavors in one, ideally, you don't want any of the flavors to stand out. In my case, it will slightly if I ate this fresh, because I use that fresh ginger and garlic. When I go to eat this the next day, the ginger and garlic will actually mellow because it actually marinates a little bit in that sauce. So. Yeah, so I am getting that little punch of ginger and garlic in there, but the aftertaste is a little toasted sesame, a little lime, a little like nutty flavor. It's like I'm trying to think of what kind of nut. Not quite the intensity of a walnut, maybe more subtle like an almond. Oh, you like my eating spoon? Yeah, that's.
You could chop up some nuts if you wanted to, though. All right.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. Like if you were doing this as a fancy dish, you would serve this on the plate, and then you would sprinkle the fresh herbs and nuts. Like one of the ones I've seen done is, what is it? Hemp seeds. Like they have the crushed hemp seeds on there, and you can add that to it, and you wouldn't even notice it because it has the same size as the quinoa, so it would have a surprise flavor to it. Now, if you are more of a texture person, you can also chop everything up smaller. Most of this stuff is smaller than I usually chop things up. I usually tend to chop things up like twice that size, like because I've got a big mouth. There's my spoon right now. Oh, for more protein, more umami, I put black beans in it. However, because it's really hot this time of the year, I don't put much beans. Beans for me are like more of a fall and winter thing, or if I want more protein. And so usually what I'll do is I'll eat about half of this tray and then want a different taste. And then I'll just dump the can of beans over it with a little more toasted sesame oil. And maybe make a fresh batch of the dressing. Because quite honestly, I mean, this right here is going to last me about 4 days, just myself. And I can eat. So,
I just bought a whole bunch of sesame oil. Now I wish I had toasted sesame oil because it sounds like it tastes better.
so one of the things.
Don't buy too big a container.
Yes, because it expires, doesn't it?
Yeah, it'll get rancid if you get too much of it.
So I use tons of it, and I'm right at the end of this one, and it is starting to get a little bit, probably not rancid, but doesn't have that fresh. So I highly recommend, unless you use a lot, to not get the big cans like this.
Right. Yeah, you get a better deal when you buy more, but it doesn't last, it goes bad.
You have to share it with friends or something. Yeah, and I noticed that you, one of the recipes, it had to be smoked paprika, and I have only regular paprika.
Yep.
Yeah, smoked paprika is very popular now.
Yeah.
So one of the tricks you can do, what I used to do is I just buy sesame seeds and I will toast them and then add regular oil to it.
Oh.
A lot cheaper, and I don't know, it has a fresh taste to it. Versus these toasted sesame oil definitely has a much darker, richer umami taste. So there's different types. But again, you can buy sesame oil and 100% it is not the black one. It's not the toasted. And so, but yeah, I mean, it has a really nice smoky flavor to it. So.
Well, thank you very much. I've got to go. I'm going to try making your dressing though next time.
Well, the nice thing about this dressing is quite literally just mix, vinegar and oil, and then just any flavor you want.
But the garlic and the ginger and
right. But the goal is if you can get all the flavors in one, if you can add that full spectrum of all the different flavors, it touches every bit of your taste buds all at the same time.
Yeah, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks so much. I got to go to another Zoom meeting. Bye.
Thank you, Aurora. That was great. Bye.
I think this is toasted coconut. So does anybody else? Let's see, we hit 4 countries today. All right. Any questions? Wrap it up. Let me think here. What I really like about this recipe is the versatility of, you can use any vegetables in season. The only requirement is it has to be a vegetable that you don't have to cook.
Or I have a question. Did you cook the vegetables before? No?
No, all these vegetables are, the only thing I cooked was the quinoa. Yeah, so all these vegetables are just chopped up small, and so they're crunchy. So I've got, a lot of sweet peppers. I've got yellow squash, zucchini, cucumber, cabbage, carrots. These are all vegetables that you can eat raw. The only thing that people might not think of eating raw is the beets. They're purple beets. Like, find the top of that beet so I can show you again. Maybe in my compost. But look I almost got from there enough to make some veggie broth. Just from that one cooking. So that's the beet. Look how, I guess, rich and purple that beet is. That's the beet top. It was just like, and most people don't think of eating beets raw. It's usually we cook it to death. So,
Can you eat the tops of beets also? I think so.
oh yeah, beet greens are phenomenal. Yep. Now the stalks of the beets, unless they're very young, tend to be very fibrous. So those you really have to cook the stalks of the beets, unless they're the very young ones, or chop them really, really fine. They're like more fibrous and chewy than celery. So like the celery stalks we buy. All right, let's see. Actually, there's a few comments in chat. Let's see if I missed anything before I wrap this up. Looks really delicious, great nutritional value too, making one for myself. People always like want to say how healthy things are. And just like, don't ruin it for me. It's really tasty, not healthy. No, just like.
Yeah, quinoa is complete protein too.
Yeah, just like.
Got all the amino acids in it.
Yep.
Which rice does not.
But yeah, I mean, you know, I mix it with some liquid aminos and then you might not need as many amino acids if you use rice. So part of it is, you know, use what I absolutely love about this recipe is you can use what you have. What type of rice, what type of grain? I've made it with millet. Let's see what else. I made it millet, rice. I can't remember what other grain. Oh, spelt. I had some spelt. I don't know.
That's a special wheat, winter wheat.
Like, and so you can even use it if you ever get whole wheat kernels before you roll the wheat. Like way back in the day, people used to eat the wheat kernels.
Is that what they call wheat berries? Wheat berries?
Yeah. So you can cook the same recipe. You can cook the wheat berries and then mix it. And so it's really any type of grain, any type of bean for the winter. It's, you know, gives it a little more heavy filling and less fresh. So, all right. Any other questions? If not, I'll wrap up. Oh man, I'm sweating a little bit right through my hat. So in Brazil, you make raw vegetables with raw salads with plenty of vegetables. Huh. Most people don't think of Brazil as a place of fresh stuff. So I do remember when I was in Brazil, at least the area I was, it did amaze me how many fresh salads, different kinds there were. So, yeah. And I like this recipe because it has, again, you can put a wide variety of vegetables. I actually don't think of what vegetables, I think of color. I think of what colors, what is easily available at the store or the farmer's market, and then what can I just like pick and eat right then that has crunchiness to it. So, all right. So, and yeah, in chat, a reminder, next week, we're going to make, I don't know how to pronounce it, but it'll be Nepali lunch. It's a very common lunch in